Snow drifted in slow, uneasy circles across the mansion's front courtyard, the kind of cold that made the air feel thin and metallic. The iron gates had barely opened when the black Rolls-Royce rolled in, its headlights cutting through the white haze. But the car hadn't even stopped when someone caught the billionaire's eyes. His breath locked in his chest. An old woman, wrapped in a thin grey blanket, leaned against a stone pillar. A young man in torn clothes held her close, his arm around her shoulders, as if shielding her from a world that had long forgotten her. Their bodies pressed together on the frozen ground, trembling. The young man wasn't looking at the mansion. He wasn't asking for anything. He was just holding her steady and quiet, as if this moment was all he had left. The back door of the Rolls swung open. The billionaire stepped out. For a single, suspended second, he couldn't move. His eyes widened. His jaw tightened. Something inside him cracked open. Something he had buried for years. Then he ran, faster than anyone had ever seen him run, toward the mother he hadn't embraced in far too long, and the stranger who held her as if she were his own blood. Before we begin this emotional story, tell us in the comments from which city you are watching, and don't forget to leave your like to keep following us. Snow had started piling in thin layers on the young man's shoulders, melting slowly into the frayed fabric of his sweater. His name was Noah, though he hadn't spoken it aloud in days. He sat with his knees bent, boots half buried in the icy ground, the old woman's breathing faint against his chest. She smelled of lavender soap and winter air, two scents that didn't belong together, yet somehow did. He didn't know her name. She had simply collapsed near the gate an hour earlier, whispering something incoherent. He had been passing by the edge of the property, looking for a spot to rest, maybe a warm exhaust vent. Then he saw her fall. Instinct had pulled him forward. He wrapped his arms around her, rubbing her back through the blanket, telling her quietly, "I've got you, okay? I'm not leaving." That was all he had. Words and warmth. Her eyelids fluttered. Her fingers clutched weakly at his sleeve. Noah adjusted the blanket again, tucking it near her chin, letting his own body take the worst of the cold. Every few minutes he checked her breathing. Steady, but too slow. When the mansion's iron gates creaked open, Noah stiffened. The car approached like a silent threat, a black shadow cutting through snow. He knew how this scene usually went. Security guards, yelling, maybe a police call. Rich neighborhoods didn't like people who looked like him sitting near their walls, even less touching someone who looked fragile and wealthy. But he didn't move, not until he knew the old woman could stand. The car stopped, the back door opened. A tall man in a navy suit stepped out, his breath fogging instantly. Red hair, sharply styled. Strong jaw, eyes that flashed with something beyond confusion. Fear, maybe. He froze, completely. The old woman stirred at the sound of footsteps. "Henry," she whispered, barely audible. The man flinched as if hit in the chest. Noah blinked, unsure whether he had heard correctly. He looked up at the stranger, who now seemed to be swallowing emotions he didn't want anyone to witness. Then the man ran. His polished shoes skidded slightly on the snow as he dropped to his knees beside them. "Mom," he breathed, voice cracking as he touched her cheek. "Mom, what happened? Why are you out here?" The old woman forced her eyes open and looked between the two men, the son she had raised and the stranger who had held her through the cold. And in that fragile silence, Noah realized he was no longer invisible. But he had no idea what this moment was about to cost him, or give him. Henry's hands trembled as he cupped his mother's face, brushing away snowflakes that clung stubbornly to her eyebrows. The warmth of his palms made her exhale softly, as though part of her had been waiting for this touch. Noah shifted slightly, giving Henry space but still supporting her back, afraid she might slip again. She collapsed," Noah said quietly, searching for the right tone. He didn't want to sound defensive, but he also didn't want this man to think he had done anything wrong. "I just found her near the gate." Henry nodded, though his eyes remained fixed on her. "Mom, why didn't you call me? Why did you leave the house?" His voice cracked twice in the same sentence. Her lips moved and Henry leaned closer. "You weren't home," she murmured, "and I needed air." Noah watched him exhale shakily, as if those words carried far more weight than he expected. Something unspoken hung between mother and son, something heavy. "Help me get her up," Henry said, finally turning toward Noah. Their eyes met. Noah couldn't read the expression, relief mixed with suspicion, gratitude woven with something protective. But Henry nodded, an unspoken truce. Together, they lifted her gently, supporting her arms. She winced at the movement. Henry reacted instantly. "Easy. Mom, I've got you." Inside the mansion, warm golden light spilled through the tall windows, reflecting off chandeliers and polished marble floors. Noah blinked, suddenly feeling the difference between their worlds press against his skin. Henry guided her toward the front steps. Then, without warning, he turned to Noah. "Come inside." Noah froze. I'm fine out here." "You're shivering," Henry replied, eyes narrowing at the torn sweater. "And you helped my mother. I'm not letting you stand outside in the cold." The words were firm but not unkind. Noah hesitated. People like him weren't invited inside places like this, not unless something was wrong or stolen. His pulse quickened. He looked at the old woman, who gave him a faint smile, small but warm enough to cut through the air around him. Henry extended his arm slightly, gesturing toward the door. "Please." Noah swallowed, unsure if stepping over that threshold was a mistake. But he followed, each step echoing against stone and snow. Inside, heat wrapped around them. A chandelier flickered above, and somewhere distant, a fire crackled. Noah's wet boots left drops on the polished floor, and he instinctively stepped aside, uncomfortable. Henry noticed. "Don't worry about the floor," he said. "Just stay with us." It was the first time anyone had said those words to Noah in months, and yet, as the door closed behind them, he felt a strange tension tighten in the air, something unfinished, something unsaid, something that would soon drag all three of them into the past. Henry guided his mother to a large sofa near the fireplace, the flames casting soft gold against her pale skin. She sighed as the heat touched her hands. Noah stood a few steps away, unsure where to place himself, fingers curled nervously in the loose threads of his sweater. A housekeeper rushed in, startled. "Mr. Bennett, what happened?" Henry didn't look away from his mother. "Blankets, tea, and call Dr. Myers. Tell him it's urgent." The housekeeper nodded and hurried off. Noah shifted again. He felt like a shadow against all this brightness, an intruder in a place built entirely of warmth and wealth. The contrast made his chest tighten. Henry finally turned toward him. "Sit. You look like you're about to fall over." Noah shook his head. "It's okay, I'll stand." Henry studied him, really studied him. The exhaustion, the cold burns on his knuckles, the way his shoulders drooped under invisible weight. "You helped her," Henry said. "I won't forget that." Noah lowered his gaze, uncomfortable with praise he didn't feel he deserved. Henry sat beside his mother, holding her hand. "Mom, why were you outside? Alone?" Her eyes glistened with something fragile. "I just needed a reminder." Henry's jaw tightened. "A reminder of what?" She turned her head toward Noah, her lips trembling softly. "Of kindness. Of the world outside these walls." Noah felt heat rise to his face. He wasn't sure what kind of reminder she meant, but the way Henry tensed told him this wasn't the first time the topic had come up. A knock echoed from the foyer, Dr. Myers arriving quickly. He examined her, murmuring instructions, checking her temperature and pulse. Finally, he nodded. "She's stable. Mild hypothermia. She needs rest, warmth, and less stress." Henry exhaled in relief, but then Dr. Myers turned to Noah, scanning his clothes, his posture. "And you, young man, you need medical attention as well." Noah stepped back. "I'm fine." "You're shaking," the doctor insisted. Noah's voice dropped. "I'm used to it." The room went quiet. Henry looked at him for a long moment, too long. "What's your name?" "Noah." "Noah." Henry repeated the name slowly, as if tasting it, weighing it. "Do you have somewhere to go tonight?" Noah hesitated. A beat, then another. The silence gave him away. Henry stood. "Then you'll stay here." Noah's breath caught. "What?" "No, Henry raised a hand, not commanding but resolute. "You kept my mother alive. I'm not sending you back into the cold." The old woman lifted her head slightly. her voice a soft whisper. "Please stay, dear." Noah's throat tightened. For the first time in months, someone wanted him somewhere, but he had no idea that staying would unravel secrets long buried and bring a hidden past crashing into all their lives. The guest room smelled faintly of cedar and soft detergent, a warmth Noah hadn't felt in years. Henry had led him there without hesitation, opening drawers, adjusting the thermostat, even bringing a folded sweater that looked far too expensive for someone like Noah to touch. Noah stood awkwardly near the doorway, uncertain where to place his hands. "You can shower," Henry said, nodding toward the bathroom. "There are towels inside. And Noah." He paused, his voice softer. "You're safe here." The words hit Noah harder than he expected. Safe. It felt like a language he no longer remembered. Henry left him alone. Noah closed the door gently, leaning his forehead against the wood. He didn't cry, but something inside him loosened. After a moment, he slipped into the bathroom, steam already fogging the mirror. When the hot water hit his skin, his body trembled, not just from warmth, but from a strange, disorienting relief. Meanwhile, downstairs, Henry sat with his mother. The fire flickered against her blanket as she watched the flames with a distant expression. "You scared me," Henry murmured. She reached out, touching his hand. "You're always working, and I didn't want to bother you." Henry swallowed hard, the words cutting deeper than she knew. "You're never a bother." But she looked unconvinced. Silence stretched until she spoke again. "The boy, Noah. He held me like someone who knows what cold really means." Henry nodded slowly. "He looks like he's been through hell." "He has kind eyes," she whispered. Henry glanced toward the stairs. "Yeah, he does." Later, Noah came down wearing the soft sweater Henry had left for him. His hair was damp. He looked younger, almost like the world hadn't completely worn him down. Henry stood. "Sit with us." Noah hesitated, then lowered himself into an armchair near the fire. The heat touched his cheeks, and the old woman smiled warmly at him. "Thank you, dear," she said. "For staying with me." He nodded shyly. Henry studied him. "Noah, what were you doing near the gate today?" Noah swallowed, eyes drifting to the fire. The truth was heavy, and it was finally time to speak it. Noah stared into the flames, watching them twist and rise. His fingers rubbed nervously against the soft fabric of the borrowed sweater. When he finally spoke, his voice was raw. "I wasn't looking for trouble. I just needed a place to rest for a minute, somewhere that felt quiet." Henry leaned forward. "How long have you been out there on the streets?" Noah hesitated. The question wasn't simple. Nothing about survival ever was. "A few months," he murmured. "Since August." Henry's mother, a woman who still looked fragile under the blanket, lifted her eyes toward him. "Where is your family, dear?" Noah exhaled slowly. "Gone. Or not gone, but not in my life anymore." He paused. "I aged out of foster care last year. Things fell apart after that." Henry's jaw flexed. He looked away briefly as if grounding himself. Noah continued, voice softer. "I had a job, a small place, but when my boss cut hours, I couldn't keep up. One bad week turned into two. Then I got behind on rent. And once you're behind," his voice tightened, "it's like the world stops letting you catch up." Henry's mother nodded slowly, her eyes reflecting something deeper. An understanding, a memory. "I wasn't trying to get near the house," Noah added quickly. "I just saw you fall. That's all." Henry met his eyes. "You saved her, and that matters." The old woman reached for Noah's hand. Her fingers were warm now. "Kindness is rare," she whispered. "People forget how powerful it is." Noah looked down, embarrassed by her gentleness. Henry cleared his throat. "Noah, listen. This house, this life, none of it means anything if we can't help someone who helped us." Noah shook his head. "I'm not asking for anything." "I know," Henry said. "That's why you're different." Noah wasn't used to being seen. Not like this. The house fell quiet again until a sudden knock echoed through the foyer. Sharp, urgent, unexpected. Henry stood slowly, exchanging a glance with Noah. The knock came again. Something in Henry's expression shifted, as if he already feared who might be on the other side of that door. Henry walked toward the foyer, each step cautious. Noah remained seated, the old woman watching him with gentle concern. Another knock, firmer this time. When Henry opened the door, a rush of cold air swept in along with a tall man in a grey uniform coat. "Mr. Bennett," the man said. "Sorry to come this late." Henry stiffened. "Officer Ramirez, what's going on?" The officer glanced past Henry, his eyes briefly landing on Noah. "We received calls from neighbors earlier today, reports of a young man wandering near the properties. Some said he looked distressed." Henry's jaw tightened. "He wasn't causing trouble?" The officer nodded. "I figured. But protocol says I need to check in." Henry stepped aside, blocking the view deeper into the house. "He helped my mother. He's staying here as my guest." The officer raised his brows. "Your guest?" "Yes," Henry said firmly. Inside, Noah stood, anxious. He didn't run. He just looked toward the foyer with a quiet resignation, as if expecting whatever came next to be bad. The officer noticed. "Son, you doing okay?" Noah nodded once. "Yes, sir." Henry crossed his arms. "Is there any reason he can't stay here?" "No," the officer replied. "Just making sure everyone's safe. There's been some theft this week in the neighborhood, so neighbors are jumpy." Henry's expression darkened. "Noah isn't a thief." The officer gave a slow nod. "Then I'm glad he found a place to stay." He tipped his hat toward Noah. "Take care of yourself." When the door closed, Henry exhaled sharply. "I'm sorry. You didn't deserve that." Noah shook his head. "It's normal." Henry stared at him, really stared. "It shouldn't be." Silence settled. The old woman gestured softly. "Come back to the fire, both of you." As they sat again, Henry glanced at Noah with a new resolve. "Noah," he said slowly, "I want to offer you something. Not charity, opportunity, work. A place to start again." Noah's breath caught. "Why me?" Henry's answer came quietly, the fire reflecting in his eyes. "Because once, someone helped me when I was at my lowest. And I've been trying to repay that small act of kindness ever since." The old woman squeezed Noah's hand, her smile tender. "Noah, dear, let us be your second chance." He swallowed hard, emotions tightening in his chest. And for the first time in years, hope didn't feel like a stranger. The next morning arrived quietly, with pale winter sunlight filtering through tall windows. Noah woke slowly in the guest room, the soft sheets unfamiliar beneath him. For a moment he forgot where he was. Then the memory returned, the mansion, the warmth, Henry's offer, the old woman's kindness. He sat up, rubbing his eyes, unsure whether any of it still made sense in the light of day. Downstairs, voices drifted toward him. When he walked into the living room, Henry and his mother were seated at the dining table, a modest breakfast laid out, eggs, toast, oatmeal. Nothing extravagant, yet everything about it felt like a life Noah had once belonged to and somehow lost. Henry looked up. "Morning." "Come eat." Noah hesitated at the threshold, fingers curled nervously at his sides. "Are you sure?" Henry's mother smiled warmly. "Sit with us, dear. Please." Noah took a seat, still tentative. Steam rose from a mug of tea placed in front of him. The smell alone made his chest tighten with gratitude. "We talked last night," Henry began, his tone steady but gentle. "And we want you to stay here, not just as a guest. I meant what I said. Work, stability, a room of your own, if you want it." Noah's throat tightened. "I don't know if I deserve that." Henry shook his head. "This isn't about deserving, it's about second chances." He paused, eyes glancing toward his mother. "And maybe about redemption, too." Noah stared at the table, fingers trembling slightly around the mug. "Why are you being so nice to me?" Henry leaned back in his chair, exhaling as if the truth had been waiting years to surface. "Because I wasn't always the man people think I am. I used to be reckless, angry. When my father died, I spiraled. One night I got into trouble, real trouble, and a stranger pulled me out of it. No reward, no judgment, just a simple act of kindness. It changed my life." His mother reached across the table, touching Henry's hand. He carries that moment with him, Noah, and now he wants to give someone else that chance. Noah swallowed hard. I don't know where I belong anymore. Henry met his eyes. Maybe right here. The old woman nodded softly. Let us help you build something new, dear. A home, a future. Noah felt something heavy break open inside him. Fear, hope, grief tangled together. For the first time in years, he allowed himself to imagine a life beyond survival. And with that fragile spark, his world began to shift. Winter melted slowly into spring in the Bennett mansion, and with it, Noah's life unfurled in ways he never expected. He accepted Henry's offer, first as an assistant in the estate's community projects, then as a coordinator helping struggling students and homeless fathers find shelter, meals, and education. Bit by bit, he rebuilt not just his circumstances, but the fractured pieces of his own dignity. Henry's mother recovered fully, and she insisted on having breakfast with Noah every morning. She said it reminded her that kindness was a living thing, something that had to be nurtured, shared, protected. Noah called her Ms. Bennett at first, but eventually she asked him to call her Marjorie. He never said it without feeling warmth spread through him. A year later, Henry stood beside Noah in front of a newly renovated building, a community center funded by the Bennett Foundation. A plaque hung by the entrance, "The Noah Avery Center for Second Chances." Noah stared at it, his eyes stinging, not from sadness, but from the quiet, overwhelming truth that he was no longer alone. Henry placed a hand on his shoulder. "See what one small act of kindness can do?" Noah smiled softly. "Yeah, it changed my life forever." And together, with gratitude, forgiveness, dignity, and new purpose, they stepped inside, ready to offer the same hope to others. Thank you for staying with us until the end of this heart-touching story. Tell us in the comments which moment touched you the most. Subscribe and turn on the bell to receive more stories that inspire and transform. Leave a like if you believe in the invisible strength of kindness, dignity, and family. And thank you for being part of this community that believes in stories with soul.